Joining us here in Washington is the former U.S. ambassador to the Congo and Nigeria, Robin Sanders. And with us from Beijing is Wenping. She's the Director of African Studies at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences Institute of West Asian and African Studies. Thanks to both of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Wenping, let me start with you in Beijing. Last April, in a speech to the 60th anniversary of the Asian African Conference, the Chinese President Xi Jinping said that and I'm quoting here, the age of Asia and Africa has arrived. Tell us more about that and his outlook on the world.
Well, to my understanding, I think the Xi Jinping's words is just to tell some, the phenomena we have already observed. For example, right now, the Asian and Africans bond together not only in this economic way. For example, like China, like India, like other, like Malaysia, even also Indonesia, all those Asian countries, they have made a lot of investment in Africa. And the trade volume also has been increased rapidly in the past decades. So that's one kind of bonding together. And also those human contact, people's contact also has been pushed forward dramatically. For example, like Chinese now working or studying or even tourists in Africa, now I think every day we'll get new number. So to some observers, it has been said now 1 million Chinese now working in Africa. And we also seeing increasing Africans now go to China to do the business, to study, or to join some exchange program. So this kind of a bonding, I mean, between the persons, between the peoples, also now becoming a new high.
Okay, Ambassador Sanders, I'm wondering if the United States' relationship with Africa is at times a little bit ambivalent. The Nigerian president, the new president, Muhammadu Buhari, said this last week. He said the U.S. was aiding and abetting Boko Haram, that's a reference to the militant Islamist group there, by refusing to supply Nigeria with arms. Those are really harsh, tough words, aiding and abetting a terrorist organization. Let's listen to what he said, and then I want to get your take on that.
Regrettably, the blanket application of the Lycée law by the United States on the grounds of unproven allegations of human rights violations leveled against our forces has denied us access to appropriate strategic weapons to prosecute the war against the insurgents. Our forces have remained largely impotent because they do not possess the appropriate weapons and technology.
Well, for the sake of our viewers, I just want to say that the Leahy law that he referred to in that soundbite is a U.S. human rights law that prohibits the sale of United States weapons or military assistance to foreign governments that allegedly violate human rights. But given what the president said there, that the U.S. is placing obstacles in his way of fighting these militants, does the president have a point?
I think that there are two things you need to look at. Certainly, I participated in a number of things when President Buhari was here, and he talked a lot about the importance of human rights. I think that needs to be separated from sort of the military issue. They definitely have to find ways to address the allegations that have been made against the Nigerian military. Whether they do a special court or some other entity that looks at those issues more seriously and in a transparent way so that international human rights organizations can be part of that process as well. I think that's important, and that has to be done. Thirdly, I would add that, listening to President Buhari throughout his 3-day visit, he talked about the need to strengthen U.S. and Nigerian military cooperation, and so did our side in terms of the military. So I think all of those things have to be done.
But I'm wondering, these differences that we're hearing about now, does it stand in the way of greater economic cooperation?
No, I think that, just like any other country, Nigeria is not one-dimensional. We have a multiplicity of relationships with Nigeria. We've stepped up certainly on trade and investment. He had a huge business discussion with key American businesses while he was here. You see, of course, the president is now on the continent. He is making his 4th trip. He's made 2 stops in countries where no sitting president has ever attended.
Wenping, when we look at both China and the United States increasing investment in Africa right now, Is it competition or is it cooperation towards a single goal?
In my opinion, I would like to see more cooperation rather than competition, especially in the economic way, because I think United States, they have more historical involvement in Africa, and China's involvement in Africa actually is a recent story, started from the year 2000. Ever since that, because we had a collective mechanism called the Forum of China-African Cooperation. So once every 3 years, this FOCAC will make a lot of initiatives, those action plans. So that can serve as a driving force for China-African's economic cooperation. But in terms of those investment, I still see that United States, I think they still play the leading role in terms of investment in the such sectors, including like capacity building, like also telecommunication, and but for China's involvement, I think we have put a lot of investment in the infrastructure and also like agriculture and also like those road, port building, and the mining industry. So there are lots of complementary with each other, both in terms of sector and also in terms of different approach and different folks.
Right. And I guess, Ambassador, whether it's competition or cooperation, it's a huge win for Africa all round. We're seeing that. We're seeing some of the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa right now.
I think that, I would see it a little bit differently. I think that it's important to underscore what President Obama said in terms of it's not a competition. And I would also like to add that, Africa is not a chessboard where we're playing moving pieces. It's up to the Africans to decide who they want to focus on, what industries they want to focus on from any particular country, whether it's the U.S. or China. So it's a zero-sum game in that regard. I think from our position, we are certainly doing a lot with foreign direct investment on the continent. We've got Power Africa. We've got a number of initiatives going on. China is ahead of us in terms of China-Africa trade is higher than U.S.-Africa trade, but we're changing that. We are diversifying our imports and exports between the U.S. and Africa. We've had the U.S.-Africa Summit last year, as you know, and at the AGOA event at the White House on Thursday, which I attended, the president announced that he would do another summit next year in 2016.
We're going to have to take a break right now. More of our conversation right after that. Stay with us. You're watching The Heat.